Once upon a time, a blind child was asked, "What superpower do sighted people have?" The answer will surprise you. It's the ability to see the future. Let me explain. If a blind child wants to know what's on a table, they have to walk up to it, feel it, and then they would know. But a sighted person would already know beforehand. Turn your attention to the screen. There's a drawing, a tactile drawing, made by a blind child. Neither me nor anyone I know has been able to guess what it is. Can you? It is a tree. The circular form represents the arms of the blind child as they circle the tree. In this same way, sighted people often make wrong assumptions of what blindness might look like. Taking you back, the smell of disinfectant is in the air. There's a rhythmic sound of beeping heard by the heart monitors. A nurse goes charging by with a patient who's just come out of surgery. Just like in those movies, she has a white plaster around her eyes. The doctor removes that plaster and he asks a question to her. She blinks her eyes and shakes her head. The question was, "Can you see better?" And by now you must have all assumed, and rightly so, that that girl was me. In the evening, when I returned home, I reopened the book I had just been reading before the surgery. The surgery, by the way, was a way to save my sight. And I realized that I couldn't see the words. A quick trip back to the hospital later, it was confirmed. I was blind. I took a week, and after hating life for a week, I slowly resolved to live life as a blind person. You know, what I see on the movies, that's going to be my life, a half-life. It's going to be that. In a rare moment of contrast, I was able to remember the way I interacted myself with other people with disability in the past. There was that one person with a white cane who I crossed the road to avoid. And I remembered as a 5th grader, there was another boy in our school. He was a wheelchair user. He wouldn't travel by school bus like all of us. Instead, his driver would drop him to the school, take him out on his wheelchair, and roll him into class. I was so afraid they'd catch me staring, but I was also too curious to look away. And in my wildest dreams, I would not know what to say to that person. I couldn't speak to him, and I did not know what to say. This is how I'm going to live my life, I thought. The boys, just like the boy, people will think of me like that. And I'm not alone in this. Many people, even people with disabilities, think of blindness as a tragedy. And why wouldn't they, right? Because society has used centuries in which they have shaped what disability, what blindness looks like. Just the idea of disability. Let's go through some of those ideas to see if they stand up to reason. Myth 1. I close my eyes and I feel what you see. I feel what you feel. So you may say, "Poonam, I just close my eyes and I know exactly what blindness is." In fact, several blindness simulation challenges and even viral activities, viral video challenges as well, have done just this, where they put a blindfold on someone and they make them do daily challenges. And of course, right, the results are pretty chaotic. But what's the truth here? Those blindfolded people have not been able to do the same training that a blind person would undergo. And of course, if you put a blindfold on those people, their brains would not rewire in seconds the way a blind person's would over time. This is how they see disability as a lack rather than what's gained in the process. But what's the truth here? You can learn. You can learn how to navigate life as a blind person. I learned various ways of doing things differently. I learned how to pick up something when I dropped it. I learned how to navigate my space using floor mats. I learned to listen for doorways and find sidewalks using my cane. Myth 2. Blind people are extraordinary. Society says that living with blindness is such a struggle, so difficult, so hard, that even simply living itself is extraordinary. And you must have seen those media stories, right, where we might be superhumans or have super sense of smell or something like that. But the truth is simply this: we do not have a super sense. We just pay more attention to what tools we have at our disposal. Myth number 3, blindness is an inspiration because it's a disability. People who are blind are an inspiration because they are disabled. So when I became newly blind, I saw this as a silver lining, that hey, at least I can inspire everyone. But it got really old. I would do something completely normal without thinking about it, and people would congratulate me. The truth is, do not tell me I'm an inspiration to you as a way for you to count your blessings because you don't have a disability. Because my life is as valid as yours. If you must say we're an inspiration, do not use it as a noun, use it as a verb. I inspire you to make your websites accessible, or force you to think in new ways about disability, or even donate to a non-profit supporting blindness. Myth number 4. Blind people can't be independent. Now, as you see, I came in, I had someone to help me. I do need to ask for a few things. Now, the reason is that the environment is set up for people who can see and not for blind people. So it's more about the environment than our disability. But the truth is that when I became blind at 21, I hadn't done so many things that I have done now. And I'll tell you the list. I've done so many things alone. For example, I have traveled to a foreign country alone. I have gone to a pub and sat alone. I have traveled using public transportation at 3 a.m. alone. And apart from that, I've also done some adventure sports like skiing and snowshoeing. And I've also been to job interviews where I've been accepted a job. These are just a few of the list, which, yes, it is a part of growing up. But don't say I did this despite my disability. Some of these things are directly because of opportunities that I received because of my disability. So I want to flip the script, and I will always push the envelope when it comes to people like me and what we can do. The 5th myth and the final myth is that blind people or people with disabilities are not part of society. It's difficult when people meet me. They feel fear, they might feel pity. And why? I also feel a little, I understand why they feel this way. Because I too, right? I felt that way when I thought about that guy in the wheelchair when I was in the 5th grade. I had the same feelings. And why? We have this cognitive dissonance when it comes to disability. I'll explain the term. We hold two differing concepts together. So, on one hand, think about your languages and think about the insults in those languages, or think about ways to invalidate someone. Don't they all have some of them have disability as a bad thing, as an insult? For example, turn a blind eye. This idea doesn't have legs to stand on, right? But on the other hand, we also have, oh my God, blind people are superhuman, extraordinary, amazing. So when you meet someone with a disability, you're not sure how to behave. But the truth is that blind people are not just part of society, they're an integral part of society. You'll be surprised to hear that a few inventions are directly or indirectly attributed to people with disabilities. So the keyboard that we all use, right? It was invented for a blind countess who couldn't write, she needed to type. Audiobooks, some of you listen to those. Those were made for blind people. Texts, which you all send, and the internet were, so the text messages were invented by deaf people, and internet, the first person to send a message on the internet was deaf. So you see that there's lots of things that disability allows happen, and therefore I think it's integral to the future of humanity as such, and super, super important. Now I'm going to take a breath here and say I've said so many things about disability, but it's not all a bed of roses, and because I don't, I am slightly different, I come across a lot of incidents, which I will share with you a few, top 3, I can say. So the first one, and I've labeled them interestingly, the first one is unintentional celebrity. So imagine me, I'm in a cab, I've just got near my house, and the GPS has failed, so the driver is just taking a break to reroute it. And there's a tap on the window. And there's a lady, and she says, oh, I know exactly where madam lives. Take a right, take a left, go this way, and go down this thing. And she even knew which block of my apartment I lived in. So I have been told that I've stopped traffic, paralyzed people as I've walked by, parted crowds, and this is just another day in my life. Let me share with you incident number 2. Mistaken identity. This is in Pondicherry. Me and my best friend are sitting on a boat, a small boat, and we're sitting in the front, and we're headed to Paradise Beach. The passengers around us are kind of rowdy, and they're in high spirits, and I'm a little nervous, and as the wind picks up, I feel a rhythmic slapping against my leg. First, I don't say anything, just how no one doesn't want to cause a scene, so I didn't say anything. But then, after 2 minutes, I turned to the person and I glared at him and I said, can you stop? And he said, stop what? And my friend grabbed my hand and said, shh, don't say anything. I said, no, I am going to stand up for the marginalized. I'll not let this be a lesson, all those things I was thinking. And I said, you're hitting me with your jacket clip, and I showed him the jacket clip. And he realized the truth. The flag that was at the front of the boat was hitting me, and it did indeed feel like the jacket clip. And he conveyed this to me, and I was super embarrassed. But luckily, he took it in his stride. He said, don't worry, if anyone bothers me, in fact, come to me. So, another awkward incident avoided. And the last one, incident number 3, is compliments disguised as insults. Or insults disguised as compliments. So, I was at a naturopathy clinic. I had just come back from a super relaxing massage. I was smiling, I was walking back. And this lady came up to me, and no introduction, no nothing. She said, "Hey, you look really sober." And I just tried to keep my face as neutral as possible and walked away so I could laugh once she was out of the line of sight. And this is just another way that people say, "Hey, you don't look like the other disabled people, the ones I see in the media, you don't look like them." And probably they think it's a compliment, but that's not the truth, right? So it's just the way sometimes things happen. So we all have blind spots, some literal and some imaginary. What we can do about them is important because society has spent centuries shaping what we understand about disabilities. So one, we can challenge our preconceived assumptions. Check the internet if you're curious, learn more about disability. Second, promote accessibility in your websites, in public transport, and anywhere else you see. Promote accessibility. Then, when you interact with people with disabilities, if you're nervous or you're not sure, just ask. I used to believe the wrong assumption of what blindness was. And then I learned the truth. Blindness didn't end my life, it just changed it. It just made it different. And if you want to make a difference, use inspiration as a verb, not a noun. Challenge your stereotypes when it comes to disabilities and realize that we're not on the sidelines of society, we are society. Thank you.